Hello and welcome to the Cat's Apprentice behind the scenes. My name is Molly and I created this 2-minute film. An idea and concept. During the summer going into my junior year, I started to draw this girl character. She was witchy and she had a pet cat, but her designs just weren't sticking with me. Probably because they looked a lot like me and I just didn't feel comfortable with that. My friend Jackie decided to help me and she gave me a lineup of multiple characters. Basically the puzzle pieces, and I started to pick and choose things I wanted, and then boom! I had this base character with this cute small orange cat, who was based off my own cat named Marmalade. I ended up naming her Sunny Willow, which plays back into her backstory, but that's not important right now. Testing the idea. I knew I had a class where I got to choose whatever I wanted to do, so I expanded more on Sunny. I got the idea that maybe she's a witch in training and that the cat could talk. However, I didn't get as far as I wanted to in that class. I had a classmate help me with the backgrounds because she didn't know what she wanted to do for the class, so I asked her, hey, I got this idea. I need help in the environment models. Would you like to make them? And she said yes, and that's what the whole semester was, and we finished it. It was a great first test into what I wanted to do for my senior film, and I knew what worked and what didn't work at this point, because we had to do a lot of trial and error for this project. Overall, the class really liked the project, it was a great success. However, they were like, why doesn't it move? And at that point, I knew I had to step up my game than just doing stills, but at the time, I didn't have enough time to animate Sunny. The story. After that class, I didn't touch the Sunny idea for almost 6 months. However, I was slowly creating the story and tossing out ideas for what I wanted to do for the short film. Later, I decided that instead of just having a talking cat as a companion, I wanted him to be a focus. So I'm like, what if the cat was actually the one teaching Sunny? And my friend liked the idea, and that's what I stuck with. By the end of my junior year, I pretty much knew what I wanted for my film. I knew I wanted it to be in 2D and 3D. Where it would change halfway through and change back. And I knew it was going to be at least 2 minutes long. The storyboard. Now that I knew what the story was going to be, I decided to make a storyboard over the summer, so I could be prepared for school the next semester. My first board was not very good. Now that I look back at it, I realized it was not that great, but I know I was really proud of it at the time, and I liked what I had. In the original story, I had Sunny mess up the potion, but the Mandrake was the character that was going to fix it, not Sunny. When I did finally show the class, I got a lot of feedback. Not all were changes, but there was quite a few. The big one was that the Mandrake was not needed. I really fought against that one because I really loved him, but eventually I let the idea go. But instead of just tossing him completely, I put him in the background. He sits on the shelf next to the scary book. Modeling. During the summer, I also started to model. I remodeled Sunny and made her a bit more cartoony and fixed some issues I ran into the following semester. I modeled Theo for the first time, which was a challenge. I had never modeled a cat before, and it was quite a challenge, and it was also a really interesting and fun challenge. After that, I modeled some basic props like a cauldron, a book, and a table. I didn't want to go too far in case when I pitched my idea to the class didn't like it and I'd have to change it for some reason. I didn't want to invest too much time. Once the class agreed and I got the green light to keep modeling, I modeled so much. I modeled everything in the film except for the treehouse in the beginning. That's modeled by the same friend who modeled Sunny's first house. We collaborated once again. There's some hidden Easter eggs in there as well. I modeled a Rubik's Cube and this little plush owl that are both in my room in real life. I even modeled Star Butterfly's wand because I really enjoy the show Star vs. the Forces of Evil. Lastly, I drew some fan art of Sunny and Spinel from Steven Universe, which I'm pretty sure you can't see in the film, but it's there, trust me. I have the file. 2D animation! After the modeling was pretty far ahead, I switched gears and started my 2D animation. I actually took a class called Character Animation 1. There, we learned the basic animation principles while working on more advanced animation. Fun part was that my senior projects teacher was also the teacher for this class, so she let me use Sunny and Theo for most of my assignments. It was so I could get used to drawing them and animating them before the real project. 2D animation was actually really fun. We got to use Toon Boom for the first time and it was super easy to learn. I remember when I took my first animation class, we had to use Photoshop and I hated it. That's probably the reason why I went into 3D instead of 2D. Could you imagine if I was a 2D animator instead of a 3D? My project would have been way different. The final project for the class was a project of our choosing, so of course I did the part of the 2D segment for my film. I only did the part where they first transform to the part where Sunny spins. I did Theo's panic attack over Christmas break. 2D faces! One of the huge struggles I had was trying to figure out how to put 2D faces on a 3D model. For the project in my junior year, I was able to get the faces on, but it didn't animate like I wanted it to. It was very stiff and wasn't as lively as I wanted it, so I started to do research, and people were giving me suggestions, and ultimately we found a solution. I took Sunny's UV skin, took a screenshot, put it into Toon Boom, and basically guessed where her eyes and mouth would be. I'm sure I'm showing a time lapse of me animating the face, but that's what it looked like the entire time I animated the face. After I did a section, I would export it, then import it, and then slap it on the model as a layered texture to see if it lined up, or if it didn't look right. Long story short, I had to make a lot of changes, just to get it to where it is now. And even then, there's still lots of things I want to change and fix. 3D animation. Not gonna lie, I put off doing the 3D animation for quite a while. At this point, I already had the 2D animation portion ready and polished, and there was nothing stopping me from doing the 3D animation. I knew beforehand that I wanted the animation to have a more stop motion quality to it. However, it was so stop motion like that people referenced it to Robot Chicken. I didn't really want that, so I eventually added more fluid animation to help break away from the Robot Chicken feel. I went back and forth a lot. I made many changes. It's still not perfect, but I'm quite satisfied with it. Audio. I want to take the time to thank my amazing voice actors for doing the voices of my characters. I want to especially thank Ethan, the voice of Theo, for helping me in the sound studio and setting everything up because I have no idea how to do that. Also, it just wouldn't be the same without them. It wouldn't have been as funny as it was, so thank you Amabel and Ethan for your amazing work. And that's the end! Obviously there's a lot more thing that goes into this, but I didn't want it to be too long. But I'm really proud of this film overall. It's my very first real film, but now I really can't stand to look at it. 1 whole year is what it took to make this. It's a very long year and it was full of a lot of struggles and challenges, but it was fun overall. However, I'm still working on some future projects. I have a short film that takes place right after this one that I'm working on. But I also have a webtoon that shows the origin story of how Sunny and Theo met, so go check that out as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this was slightly interesting, and I hope you all have a magical day. Goodbye!
This is Ethan and Avery's food review. Give me a scottle.
Avery's gonna try the purple, and I'm gonna try the red. We'll see how it turns out.
Not that bad. I will give you that. Can I have a green one?
The one in my palm, yeah.
Your palms are pretty sweaty. These are like a hint of skittle and sweat.
It's pretty hot in here. I'm wearing a sweater and a stocking cap.
That's okay. Hey! That's good. Green one's probably my favorite. I will give it a 2.
I actually miss the old green flavor. Do you remember the lime flavor?
There was a different flavor of Skittle.
Yeah, it was a big deal when they changed it. It used to be lime. Because I used to mix the yellow and the green one, and I would make a Sprite Skittle.
That sounds awful.
What do you mean it sounds awful?
It sounds awful. I want the purple one.
It tasted like an actual fruit and not like the candy apple one that it is now.
Oh, I see. Hey, so you people in there, what's going on now?
Thank you. You've been listening to Ethan and Avery review a random food that Ethan has. Thank you and good night. Subscribe, and support us on Patreon.
Wait, you can
This
subscribe?
episode has been sponsored by Audible. You can use the coupon code Avery to get 1 month free of Audible. That includes 1 free audiobook. And you get the idea. You know Audible.
Our listeners don't read. Oh,
And that's why we're doing an ad for Audible, because our listeners don't read.